So hello everybody and welcome back to another patch rundown. The new patch is finally here. Patch 6.0 Pleasure Town. And the music was a bit too loud. So 6.0 Treasure Town, the new patch is here. And I did a presentation for you for the patch. So everything mentions on the patch you can see here. And some extra information Curry, one of the creators of the game, mentioned on his stream recently. So I hope you guys enjoy it. And if you have like stuff you want to comment on or something, just do it. So let's start with the first thing. And it's the first major changes. The Treasure Town. So, as you can see, there are a lot of Pokemons, and they all gather in the Treasure Town now. So the Treasure Town is the new starting map for the game. So in the beginning of the game, you start in the Treasure Town, and you will... So, exactly, yeah, you start in the Treasure Town, it's stage 0, and you will choose a portal. So you can influence your starting region that way. Also, the Treasure Town you will meet at T0, T10, T20, and every carousel round. So every time you want to pick up an item, you get to the Treasure Town. Every time you pick up a portal, you go through Treasure Town. So we all will see us again in a Treasure Town. So everyone is in the same region in a Treasure Town. And also a new mechanic, because we are in Treasure Town from Pokemon Mystery Dungeon. You all know it, maybe. There are some encounters for famous residents. I don't know all the residents, because this wasn't available until now to see who is in there. There were some leaks by Curry, but I think it's more fun for you to find out what the residents are. And also for myself. So that's one thing in this patch notes I will not spoil. So you have to find out who the residents are and what they do. But from time to time you can encounter the residents in the Treasure Town. So when you all meet for items or for portals. And they do different stuff. Some can give you items for gold, and do other stuff. Next to the next major change, it's a speed change. So, speed is now, as you can see in the bottom, is now attack speed, movement speed, and the ability cooldown. It's all in one stat now. So if you get 1% speed, you get attack speed, you get movement speed, and you get cooldown reduction, basically. There's like some math to the madness, but as you can see, it's highlighted in yellow. So the maximum speed is 300, which is basically 2.5 attacks per second in last patch. And at minimum 0, which would be 0.4 attacks per second, like last patch. Many attack and PP stats were changed because of that, because some units got insane amounts of speed, and some are very slow. So all the speed stats are based on their on the original main title games. So fast Pokemons like Reggie Alec, or Reggie Aleki, or Raichu, or something is very slow, is very fast, and like Slowbro is pretty slow. So that's also something you have to consider now. Building attack speed items are also now speed items, not attack speed anymore. So like upgrades or muscle bands, they grant you speed and not attack speed anymore. And because how speed works, the higher your speed is, the more you profit from speed as well. So if you're a very slow Pokemon, like a speed item might not be the best thing. But if your Pokemon is pretty fast, has a high amount of speed, you might want to get more speed. Also, speed stat is linear, so 0 to 10 is the same as gives you the same value as 5 to 10, 50 to 60. So there is no so you don't waste speed if you have a lot of speed. So the more speed you build, the quicker it goes. It's not like at a certain point it's wasted or something. It's always good. Or as good as it would be with a lower amount. So there is no threshold in other games where the speed, there's a certain speed cap where it doesn't matter anymore to build more. So another change, there not only speed was changed, but there was also change to defense and special defense. So the special defense and defense stats are all doubled. So every unit has the double amount of special defense and defense. So the so the damage reduction formula was also changed. It basically was just damage. So the damage is the same, practically. It was from 10 to 20, so that's the other way around. So the damage output. So if you did like had a Pokemon with 3 armor, last patch, and now it has 6 armor, it gets the same amount of damage as before. So it's just easier to patch and to balance now with higher numbers, so they can tweak it easier. So instead from 3 to 2, it's 6 to 5 possible, and so on. So it's just a balancing thing, so this doesn't impact the game in itself that much. It's just more, the number is just bigger, but damage-wise it doesn't change anything. So keep that in mind. This is more like a balance change for the future. And it's not like it has no impact. Accordingly, some items have the stats adjusted to fit the more higher attack and defense values. A little bit more higher defense values, I mean. So, but damage-wise, all the same as last patch. Now we come to one of the bigger changes, one of the most exciting changes, the new synergy. It's Gourmet. There are several new Gourmet Pokemon that I will show you later. But first of all, we have the new synergy Gourmet. It's proposed and designed by Apple Juice, as far as I know. So, and everything here is I looked it up myself, so there was no proofreading or something, so if there's something wrong, please correct me. But yeah, I think it was designed and proposed by Apple Juice. Apple Juice did like a huge document, like it was a very, very long document in which the design and the idea of Gourmet was like laid out and written down. It's very, very in-depth. But yeah, so what can Gourmet do? With Gourmet, you get a chef's hat. You can put on a Gourmet unit. And the Gourmet unit can cook a signature dish. And between the fights, in your between the fights, they cook the signature dish. So you give the hat. They give after the fight, they give the dish to someone, and then at the beginning of the fight, the dish is consumed by the Pokemon. The dishes are not held items. That's very important. So if you have free items on your unit, it can still get a dish. And only Pokemons adjacent to the chef, so the Pokemon with the chef set, can get a dish. And how many dishes you give to your Pokemons is like every Pokemon can only hold one dish. So at free Gourmet, you give your Pokemon a chef set. You give a Pokemon, you place a Pokemon next to your chef, and they get one food. If you put two Pokemons next to your chef, one of those two only gets a dish. So only one random Pokemon gets this. At 4, 2 Pokemon can get, like 2 adjacent Pokemons to your chef can get a dish. And at 5, you get an additional chef set. And what the dishes are, I will show you later and explain it later. But first of all, on the top left, you can see the overlap. So these are the synergies Gourmet does overlap with. So mainly with normal, grass, flying, fairy, and amorphous. So there's like some synergies, of course, Gourmet is most viable with, but you will see later on, it isn't only playable with these 5 comps. And it's also very, very versatile because of some units, they are very versatile, and you will see later on why. But yeah, that's the first thing with Gourmet. We come to it later with the Pokemons and everything. But first, other synergy changes. Because we go through the synergies first of all. First of all, berry trees no longer change their region, like the type of berry they are after picking up the berry, but instead whenever you change the region. So if you get like an orange berry tree, you are stuck with the orange berry tree until you change the region. So you don't have random berries all the time, but you have consistently possibly the same 3 berries from your trees. You have 3 berry trees, and these stay the same. These 3 will stay the same until you change the region. So you have orange berry, you have a raspberry, and a citrus berry, for example. You only can get these 3 berries until you change the region. So wild is changed now. So it gives at wild level, so synergy level 2 and 4, it gives speed. At 6 and 9, not 8, 9, it gives attack. So there is no longer attack and movement speed at all levels. So if you want to have gain attack speeds, attack damage, I mean. If you want to gain attack damage, you have to go to 6 and 9 wilds first. And because of the changes to speed, 2 and 4, means your Pokemon don't only get movement speed, but also attack speed and ability cooldown. So that's pretty nice. So it may be a nerf to stage 2 and 4 in attack damage. But you get a lot of attack, like a lot of speed. And you have to consider the speed you get and the attack you get later on. So it will make maybe Wild's not as good early game, but later on it's still as good as it was. Probably. Also, Wild now has a 30% chance to inflict wounds, but only when synergy is active. So it is more important now to have the Wild synergy active to get the wounding effect. So you can have like a random Wild units and wound your opponent anymore, but you have your synergy to be active. So the power bump for Wild is even more significant. Exactly, so it is more important to go straight Wild for this. So there's a nerf to Amorphous, to Amorphous 3 and 5. It will be lowered to, instead of 4 and 8, so 4 at 3 and 8 at 5 Amorphous. It's now 3 at 3 Amorphous and 6 at 5 Amorphous HP per active synergy. It makes your units a bit less tankier, and that doesn't matter that much, the nerf to 3, because it's like 8 HP per Pokemon, which can be significant, but isn't that much at stage like Amorphous 3, which is the most used in Amorphous. So it's a slight nerf. It's slightly worse, but it's still pretty good to play 3 Amorphous, for example in Dragons. Nerf to Artificial 4 and 6, so it goes down from 8 at 4 Artificial to 6 attack, AP and shield per height item, and at Artificial 6 it's to 12. So it's also it's a decent nerf. Actually, it's not just a slight nerf, it's a decent nerf. It will make Amorphous Artificial, I mean, it makes Artificial less oppressive in the late game. So it's more beatable now. So because it's less tanky, it deals less damage. It's still pretty good, but not as good anymore, obviously. I mean, it's at the max stages you're losing like 6 attack, AP and shielding, and Artificial 4, and you're losing 9 in Artificial 6, so it's not that huge of a nerf, but it's something you will feel. The Fire Burn chance, like the on-attack burn damage, burn is now, instead of 2, it's 3 seconds, so the burn damage is better. It means it's now better against teams that heal, like that are very tanky and heal a lot, like Grass, for example. It counters Grass better now. Also like teams like Ground that want to scale up and have very often play Green Orb. Burn pretty good against this, so that's very nice. Yeah, Fire might be good this patch. Yeah, Fire can be very good this patch, exactly. I think that can be a decent buff. I think, at least for like playing Fire 2, like a splashable synergy, to counter stuff like Grass or something. This can be really nice. And there's a Baby buff. I know a lot of people will cry because Baby will be better now, and Baby 7 is so strong, and so on and so forth, but since the nerfs, I think it's getting better now. It needs buff because it was way worse because of the last patches. So I think this is a fine patch, fine buff, from 8 to 10% X chance. So you can get your X earlier, and because you need 5 turns to hatch your egg, it's pretty nice to get it earlier. And having a higher shiny egg chance is the same thing. So it's just to get your eggs earlier, little bit earlier, and don't have to wait like an insane amount of time to possibly get the desired, like the hatch Pokemon you desire. So that's pretty nice. So now another change. That can be huge. It's Electric. Electric synergy is not 369, it's now 357. So you can get your you can max out your electric synergy way earlier now, way easier and way better. Because of that, Electric 7, previous Electric 9 ability, deals now half the damage. So triple attacks also deal 20 special damage to enemies adjacent to the target, is what it was before. Now it's 10 special damage to target and enemies adjacent to it. So the damage is halved, but you get it 2 levels earlier, which is pretty nice. This could possibly make Electric 7 very playable. But we have to see if the electric units are good enough to do this. So Ghost now gets dodge chance and chance to silence only when the synergy is active. So your one Ghost Pokemon, like your Haunter in your Grass comp, will no longer silence your opponents and can no longer dodge unless you have Ghost Synergy active. So you can't splash it in to get your silence or anything. So you can't just play one Ghost Pokemon to silence. Or your Litwick in early game can't dodge anymore or can't silence your opponent anymore unless the synergy is active. This is a slight nerf to Ghost Pokemons without Ghost Synergy active, but that's pretty nice. Now we could come to the new Pokemons. Not exactly. We come to the Pokemons that are now Gourmet Pokemons. So these are the Pokemons that are Gourmet now. Some of them, there will be more. So Lickitung isn't a white normal anymore only, but it gets the Gourmet synergy now. And Lickitung's signature dish, so if it gets the chef's hat, it can cook its signature dish, is the Rage Candy Bar, and it gives your Pokemon 5 attack for the next fight. Then we have Sinistee. Sinistee is now not only Ghost Artificial, it gains also Gourmet. And Sinistee's signature dish is tea. It gives 50 PP at the start of the next fight to the Pokemon, which is pretty nice, especially if you have if you're playing Sinistee next to, for example, your Haunter, and your Haunter gets the tea, and so it will get 50 PP instantly, and it only has a 60 PP ability, or it had 60 PP at the last patch, for example. Then it will only need 2 auto attacks to get to 60 PP and cast its ability. So it's very, very good. Also for high ability, for high cost ability, it's pretty nice because most of the time 50 PP is like half the ability cost. So this will help significantly to get your Pokemon to cast their abilities. That's very nice. The 5 attack from Lickitung is obviously nice. It's 5 attack. You always like to have 5 attack on your Pokemon if you get it for free. Especially in early game, it's pretty nice because most early Pokemon's early game have only 5 attack, like Lickitung itself. So you double their attack basically, so it's pretty nice in early game. So the next changes is Vanillite. Vanillite isn't fairy anymore. I forgot to type it, but it isn't fairy anymore. And now it's a Gourmet instead. Its signature dish is the Castelia cone. Castelia cone? The Castelia cone. It's an ice cone. And at the beginning of the fight, the ice cone will freeze at the first attack of your Pokemon opponent for 5 seconds on it. So, which means on hit means when they start their animation to attack, they will freeze the opponent instantly. So basically, they will instantly freeze the opponents they are facing for 5 seconds. And which is very, very nice because you can put your Pokemon with the ice cone in front of the opponent carry and instantly freeze the carry. Or the main tank. Or you can put it on your backline units to freeze someone, the main carry. Or it's for as defensive use if you're playing against Dark and the Dark unit is jumping to your backline. You can have your Pokemon instantly freeze the Dark unit. But that depends a little bit on the speeds and how the Dark units jumps, if they jump before your Pokemon's move or they jump after your Pokemon's moved, which is sometimes a bit iffy, but it can be very good defensive and also offensive. Then we have Bounsweet. It's now Gourmet to its grass fighting synergy. And Bone Sweet's signature dish is fruit juice. The fruit juice gives 30 speed to your Pokemon, so it's faster, attacks quicker, and can use its ability quicker. So giving your Pokemon more speed just makes it quick. It's pretty nice. It's good. Probably it's pretty good on everything, I guess. Backline units love attack speed, so 30 speeds make it quicker to attack. And so on. Or you can give it to a Pokemon who wants to move very quick. So that's pretty nice. Or if you have someone with a high ability cast time, then you can give this speed, and it's also pretty nice. So we have Chansey and Blissey now are also Gourmet. In this screenshot, it isn't Gourmet yet because I took the screenshot from Curry's stream a couple days ago, so there wasn't the Gourmet synergy yet added to the Pokemon, but it got its signature dish. And the signature dish from Blissey is the nutritious egg. And so start the next fight. It gives plus 30% base attack, defense, and special defense to an adjacent ally. So to the Pokemon, it gets the nutritious egg, which is pretty huge buff. I mean, imagine just putting this next to legendary frontline tank, giving it 30% attack, defense, and special defense. That's pretty crazy. That's a good amount. Like, imagine a Groudon or something with plus 30% extra stats. Or like a Mega Rayquaza or Dark Lugia or something. So that's pretty nice. So an Applin is now a unique Pokemon. And we will talk about Applin more later. But it's now Dragon, Grass, and Gourmet. And a unique. And its signature dish is the Tart Apple. So after the fight, next fight, it gets attacked by. Each attack by this Pokemon will remove 2 defense from the target. So if you give someone the apple, against the apple, it's reduced the armor from the opponent, and the Tart Apple will change into a Sweet Apple. But we will talk about it later. So we have Spinder, the next Pokemon who is added, gets added the Gourmet synergy. Also, Spinder is now was the last Pokemon with only 1 synergy, and now there is no units from the main pool with less than 2 synergies. So every unit has 2 or 3 synergies now. So Spinder's signature dish is the Spinder's Cocktail. So it's a cocktail with random effects that give buff stats or make you dizzy. Okay, and that's it. I don't know how good this is or not, because I haven't tested it yet, if the random effects are good. I think they are luck-based to get them. It's luck-based probably. But you have to see in-game if it's good or not. So you have to play with Spinder from time to time maybe to test it out, if it's good or not. So Farfetch'd is now also Gourmet. It's Flying, Gourmet, and Normal now. And it has its signature dish, the Leek. It's a leek that it carries around everywhere, and it has a pretty similar ability to its main game counterparts. It gives crit chance, and lets the opponent lets the Pokemon crit. Lets the Pokemon crit with its ability in the next fight. So that's pretty nice to have in in a dark comp maybe. Or maybe in flying it critical strikes is also pretty nice. Yeah, it's basically free Reaper Cloth for 1 turn. And that's very, very cool, I have to say. So next Pokemon is Tropius. It's now Grass, Gourmet, Flying. It loses Flora. Not Grass, it loses Flora. As you can see in the right picture, in the screenshot. So the passive is changed to a signature dish, so it gets a random berry now. Like, gives a random berry to an adjacent ally. Like that. So, Shuckle is now Bug, Rock, and Gourmet. Shuckles gives the berry juice. And the berry juice gives Pokemon 50 shields at the start of combat, and every time it's this unit also consumes a berry. So that's pretty nice. So you can play, if you play Shuckles and have in a grass comp, for example, and give your, like your Bulbasaur gets the berry juice and you give it 2 berries, it gets a shield at the beginning of the fight and 50 shield every time it consumes a berry. That's very nice. Other chef sets movable like artificial items. Oh yeah, that's something I forgot to mention. You can move the chef sets like the artificial items. Or rather, you can just take your Pokemon with the chef sets, put it on the bench, and it loses the chef set. And you put the Pokemon in again. Cherubi is now Flora, Light, and Gourmet, so it isn't grass anymore. So Cherubi signature dish is the Sweet Herb and gives you gives the Pokemon 50 ability power at the beginning of the fight, so that's pretty nice. We have Miltank. Miltank gets the Gourmet synergy to its normal and field synergy. So, and exactly, we are making Miltank this patch because we are getting milk out of Miltank. And this milk gives 10 permanent max HP to your Pokemon. So if you try to get the Gluttony title for, like with the Snorlax, you don't need Tropius anymore, or necessarily too many grass Pokemons. Maybe you can get it with Miltank. Or use all the stuff, all of the buff. But you can now feed your team with extra milk. And give it 10 max HP. Then we have Combi. Combi is now Bug, Flora, and Gourmet. And it gets its signature dish, Honey. So Combi gives Combi does Honey. Each Pokemon in the next shop rerolls this round has an additional 5% chance to share common synergy with Pokemon eating honey. So honey is similar to incense, yeah. Similar to incense, yeah. So you have one turn to roll down for a better chance for your synergy. That's pretty nice. I think it can help a lot if you're in a rough spot. Maybe and need to roll down your money. And to have a higher chance to hit your units you want to. Can be very good. Especially on a supporting unit. So next we are at Guzzlord. Guzzlord isn't Dragon anymore. Guzzlord is now a Gourmet, Dark, and Monster unit. And also it has its passive changed. Because Guzzlord is still too heavy to jump. So that doesn't change. But it also is too gluttonous to cook for others. So it doesn't cook. Rather, whenever it gets, whenever it has the helmet on, the hat on. So if it has the chef set on, it gains 4 permanent ability power for every KO. So it gets bigger and bigger. It can snowball out of control, but you lose dishes. You can't cook with this Pokemon. Because this Pokemon cooks the opponent Pokemons. So it's gluttonous, it's eating, and it's rampaging through the opponent team. So Guzzlord is maybe a more fun unit now than it was before. And also, if you don't have good like units, Gourmet units for put your chef set on, or units you don't want to put your chef set on, you got Guzzlord as a carry. Now we are to Munchlax and Snorlax. So Munchlax and Snorlax both lose their human type and get Gourmet. And the passive is changed. Also it gets a signature dish, but its passive is changed. So Munchlax gains max HP when it 5 for each berry it eats, 10 for each dish it gets, and it gets 20 HP when it cooks as chef. So you don't need to play Munchlax anymore with in grass comps, but now you give it its little head and let it cook. And what does Munchlax cook? Leftovers. It cooks you leftovers, an apple without any effect. Munchlax could be pretty crazy this patch, but we will see how good this is. I think Munchlax and Snorlax are not dependent on grass anymore. It's now you can play it in normal teams because there are several normal Gourmet Pokemon, and you can or in just a Gourmet team or in a Gourmet monster with Guzzlord. I mean, that's pretty nice. So I agree. Yeah, normal fans are eating good. Literally, this patch. Yeah, I think this patch is very, very good for, especially very good for the casual player. And for the people who just want to do fun stuff. Because maybe the balance can get off the rails this patch, because there's so much new stuff. But that can also be fun. So we will see. And we come to the evolution changes. Leafeon is now only grass, so it loses Flora. Vaporeon loses Amorphous, Flareon loses Light, and Sylveon loses Sound. So every evolution is only the type from the stone it gets. So that's everything. So this will change a lot, especially because Flareon and Leafeon were very popular. Leafeon in grass because of its flora, and Flareon in field because of the light synergy that it gave. But yeah, we will see. And Sylveon losing Sound is also pretty, yeah, heavy. I mean, Vaporeon losing Amorphous is also very heavy because it was a good flex in the early game for Water Amorphous or Amorphous comps later on. So also again, a nerf to Sound, which is already like in a dumpster and getting kicked on, spit on, and shit on. But I think you will change. You want to. Well, I think it's intentionally that Sound gets hits here. Why was this nerfed? I think because it was too flexible. It is a bit against the identity of the evolutions. That's probably the reason, I guess. So 3 units lost Grass Flora combo. Basically, yeah. You now have to work for your Flora in Grass. So Grass Flora isn't that easy to achieve anymore. It was harder last patch, but it is now even harder this patch, so you have to work to get the Flora in your grass team, or you have to invest a grass stone on the Flora unit to get your Flora grass team, which is pretty nice because grass and Flora were too much intertwined and therefore hard to balance because they both lift each other up and were too oppressive and too strong. So them losing more Flora is very, very good. So I'm very happy with these changes. So next change are new abilities. We have new abilities for a lot of Pokemon. So new ability for the Nidoran male line. Nidoran male gets now Horn Attack. It deals attack, so 3, 4, or 5 times attack as special damage and armor break for 8 seconds. Armor break is what was previously called armor reduction, I think. So this is a nice ability. I don't know if it's good or bad. You have to see it in game. You have to test it, you have to play it. Like every ability, you have to play it or to judge it. Especially because it's a multiplier ability. But it's probably similar to matchup, that it can be good if you play it as a carry, but it's more like okay most of the times. So also Rotom gets a new ability, the charge ability. Until end of the fight, attacks deal 100% additional special damage, and it is stackable. So Rotom still has a scanning ability, but it isn't based on its attack damage anymore, but it's based on special damage that it gets. So it's now better to build like ability power on Rotom, I guess. As far as I read it, it seems like its ability power is now better on Rotom than it was before. And also it's probably better in with itself. And doesn't fall off that hard anymore, and easier to build, because it doesn't scale off its own AD, which was decent early on, but gets worse later stages of the game and falls off very hard. So itemizing Rotom felt pretty bad sometimes, and I think this change will make that it feels more rewarding to itemize Rotom even in the late game, even in the later stage of the game, and it doesn't fall off that much. I hope so. Zapdos gets a new ability. So Zapdos before had the ability that it gives, I think it was attack speed to everyone, but now it got Thunder. And Thunder does 3 lightning strikes to 3 random enemies, inflicting special damage, like in this case 120 special damage, with a 30% chance to inflict paralysis for 3 seconds. So it's a high damage ability that can strike 3 times, and that will strike 3 times. It's random enemies. It can strike the same Pokemon, so it can deal 360 damage to 1 Pokemon, which is crazy. Which can be very, very crazy. So you can one-shot 1 Pokemon with a bit of luck. Otherwise, you deal decent damage to 3 random Pokemons, or up to 3 random Pokemons. And it feels more in character. Curry said in his stream that they wanted to change Zapdos from a supporting unit into a carry unit. And Zapdos definitely is a carry character now. It's a carry Pokemon. And it is also more in character with the Pokemon, because Zapdos is like the Thunderbird that's Thunder strikes, lightning strikes down on every opponent and so on. So, and not like the guy who gives you some attack speeds or attack damage or whatever it did before. It's not a supporting Pokemon. It's a legendary bird who is creating thunder. But now we are finished with Zapdos. Meditite. Meditite now has Calm Mind. That's an ability that's also that already exists. Instead of 60 PP, Meditite now has 100. I think that can be a good buff. At least it's a better ability than the one before. Because the one before was that it confuses the opponent, and then later, and if the opponent is confused, it deals damage. So it had to cast theoretically twice to deal damage. And I think Calm Mind is a bit better in this case. But we have to see. New ability for Drifloon. So we have the Drifloon line gets a new ability. It gets Tailwind. So it increases the speed of all allies by 5, 10, and 15. And instead of 85, it now has 100 PP costs. So I think giving your allies speed is very, very nice, because this makes Drifloon a good support unit. It's still Ghost flying in Amorphous, so Amorphous units being more supportive is pretty nice. And giving you, like, for example, in Ghost and Flying, your team speed is also very, very nice. For speed means more attack speed, more movement speed. And that's very, very good. And it makes Drifloon, I think, a better unit in general, because before that it had the ability to buff its attack, and I never felt like it was good, so making it more a supportive unit is pretty nice. Bagon now has a new ability, the Bagon line. It's Dragon Claw. It deals 30, 60, or 120 special damage to the lowest health adjacent enemy and wounds it. So Bagon attacks the unit, it casts its ability, and will not attack necessarily the unit it's attacking right now, but the unit next to it with the lowest health. Which is pretty nice ability for Bagon, because Bagon is a monster. It has the monster synergy, and being able to focus a low health Pokemon makes it ramp up quicker. So Bagon, or Salamence later on, if you want to evolve it, can snowball now, way, way better. And also it doesn't deal damage to itself anymore, so that's also pretty nice. So Bagon can be a very nice unit in Monster. So this is basically also small monster buff. Also same with Guzzlord. It being able to snowball, giving monster Pokemons more snowbally abilities or passives is very, very nice. Makes the synergy better. And the Pokemon synergize with the abilities way, way better. And then another new ability is for C-Dot. C-Dot now has the C-Dot 9 has now Razor Leaf. So it throws sharp leaves in a line behind the target, and all enemies hit take 20, 40, or 80 special damage, and this ability can crit. This is very, very important. The ability can crit by default, so which means C-Dot is a grass and a dark unit. So having the dark unit that's a one-cost dark unit being able to crit by default makes it very, very nice to play. So C-Dot is now able to be a potential early game carry in Dark. So next thing, the ability changes. So we have some changes. First, to Unknown O. The O is now Oven. I don't know what the O was before. I forgot to check this. I wanted to do that, but I forgot. But now, Unknown O gives you, if it's Oranberry. Oh, it was Oranberry. Okay. So that's why I couldn't remember. It was Oranberry. Okay. So instead of giving all your Pokemons an Oranberry, it gives all your Pokemons a random dish next fight. So instead of getting an Oranberry in the fight, you get a dish next fight on all your Pokemons. Which is pretty nice. A random dish, so you can get the Moo Milk, or you get a random berry. You can even get a random berry or something. But there's a lot of different dishes that I will show later that you can get randomly. And that can be very fun and nice. How good it is, we will see, but it's scaling, so it doesn't do a thing immediately, so you should use Oven in the PvE round. You should try to use Oven in the PvE round. So it gets its ability off in the PvE rounds, and you have your dishes for the PvP round after that. Very strong, but benefits the next fight only. Yeah, exactly. Because of that, I think use Oven, use O in the PvE round, get your dishes for the PvP round, and you will be pretty strong. Especially in late game, I think this can benefit you a lot. If you have just your comp and you get like I said, Moo Moo Milk giving you 10 max HP or other stuff that can increase your stats a lot. That can be very, very nice. So then there's a change to Hyperspace Fury. That's the ability of Hooper. Now it also reduces special defense every hit. So it doesn't only do damage, but also lowers the special defense. Then we have an important change, the change to Aggron. So the shielding is increased by 50%, I think, on every stage. Yeah, by 50% on every stage, but it doesn't have an AP scanning anymore. So this means Aggron can't get infinite shielding through Soldew abuse. Instead, it gets a good amount of shielding, but the shield doesn't scale anymore. And it isn't as frustrating to play against Aggron. It is a good nerf to Aggron. So you don't have the infinite shielding builds with Soldew and then tank items, for example. Then we have a rework to Acrobatics. Acrobatics is the ability of Hoppip, the Hoppip line, for example. I think it was Acrobatics. Yeah, it should be. Now move to a cell. Now your Pokemon moves to a cell at good distance from its target and move further away if not holding any item. I think the damage is the same. The Soldew Hoppip memes are dead. I mean, people built Soldew before on Hoppip, even though it deals double damage if it was not holding an item. But now it deals damage. Now you can build damage on it. Oh yeah, of course. You can now build AP items on it to increase its damage, but it will not move as far. So maybe people will play Hoppip carry. I hope not, because it is still bad. It is still worse. It's still, you shouldn't do it, but at least now you can use Hoppip as an item holder without losing damage. But it will use a loose utility. So Glaive Rush, the ability of the Frigibax line, is also reworked. So the targeting is increased when the destination cell is occupied, so it will choose a better target, I think. If it's standing in front of a unit, instead of trying to rush through to occupied place, it will select a new target to rush to or through. But something I really don't like is, instead of physical damage, the ability now deals special damage. There's something I don't like that much. Because Frigibax was pretty good in ice teams if you played against the Marshadow. Because Marshadow will gain a lot of special defense from your ice Pokemons, and Frigibax would still be able to deal damage because it deals physical damage only. But now it will deal special damage with its ability, so it will still get wrecked by it will now get wrecked by Marshadow anyways. And it was pretty good in also the Ice Mirror, or if people build a lot of special defense and so on. It gave you an out to this in Dragon and also in Ice. Kinda sad, but... And I don't like the change, but... I understand it that they want like most their abilities to be special damage and not physical. But it got a new animation, so that's something. Glaive Rush has an animation now, so we like that. We gave a thumbs up to this, to the new animation, even though I haven't seen it yet, but I think it's pretty nice, probably. Then we have the change to Razor Wind. It's the ability of Noibat and Farfetch. So the ability no longer paralyzes and doesn't hit adjacent units. And it's crits now by default. So it's a high damage single target ability now. And also Noivern line gets like the PP adjusted. So instead of 100 it's now 70. And the ability Thunder is renamed to Thundershock. So before, Zapdos now has the ability Thunder, and the ability that was called Thunder before, the Repline line's ability was Thunder. It's now Thundershock. So the previous Thunder is now Thundershock, and the new Thunder is Zapdos Thunder. So that's just a name change, so nothing important. So here we have some buffs and nerfs to abilities. The Concrete Pillar from Conkeldurr gets 100 extra HP, makes it more tanky, makes it just better, so it's more usable. Topsy-Turvy, the ability from Inkay, now also reverses AP buffs. That is interesting, because I don't know how good this is, but I think this is interesting. It sounds pretty nice, but we will see. Buff, because I never played Inkay, so I don't know if it's good or not, this change. I mean, it's a good change, obviously, but I don't know how much it will impact the playability of Inkay. So, then there's buff to Unknown N. The shield provides to your team now scales with Unknown AP. So, Unknown N's shield scales now with the AP from Unknown, and this means the ability power from Psychic increases its AP. So the shield you gain, which is pretty nice. So you benefit from your synergy more. Then there's a buff to Vulpix and Alolan Vulpix. They have 5 less PP, which is pretty nice, so they can cast one auto attack earlier. And the ability Aurora Veil now protects. Oh, Snapshot. Oh, okay. Rune Protect duration is now 1 second instead of 1.5 seconds. So this is a nice buff. The team time. So there's a nifty tea time. It loses a bit of healing at all stages, especially in later stages, but Poltergeist is only a 2 stage evolution, so it loses 10. It needs to be nerfed, it was too good. That's nice. Obstagoon gets its protection nerfed, so instead of 4, it's 3 now. The Snipe Shot, I was informed right now, the nerf has been removed. So I overlooked that change, that this was cut. So we ignore this. So Snipe Shot still deals the same amount of damage as before. So Hurricane, the paralyzed duration is was changed from 4 to 3 seconds. So it's less paralysis. So a bit more counterplay. The Pichu line ability was nerfed. It's now, instead of 3, 4, 5 seconds, it's 3 seconds at all tiers. So the Raichu only does paralysis for 3 seconds now. The same goes for Alone Raichu. So it's 3 seconds for all the Pichu line. And changes to the Pokemon's buffs and nerfs. Underlying gets 15 PP removed, so It can cast its ability way quicker, so you can get more dogs out. So don't be surprised if your opponent has a lot of dogs. So Calio gets a buff, a small buff. A Drampan buff is nice. So the PP is lowered from 110 to 90. So it can cast its ability way quicker. That's very nice. It's a buff that Drampan needs, especially because it probably has a low speed amount, so pretty nice. I think the biggest one is the Gothita buff. It's the biggest buff because it's a good chunk of damage that it gets. So that's pretty nice. Yeah, the Ghastly nerf, it's 20 more, so it's needs a bit more time to cast its ability. That's very nice. Everyone played Ghastly, so yeah. So now people will play less. Maybe we'll consider another unit, maybe. But Ghastly is still very good, and it's just less oppressive and obnoxious. And I will probably still put in Ghastly if I need a Amorphous unit, and I don't have one that I need and can just put in any Amorphous unit. Ghastly will still be a very good utility unit, even with 80 PP instead of 60. The Miltank nerf, the Spinda nerfs are all because of the Gourmet stuff. Celebi nerf, it's just a bit too tanky, it seems like. Wishy-Washy gets nerfed. It's the small Wishy-Washy, I think. That's pretty okay. Aegislash nerf is a nice one. Aegislash was very oppressive because you could build damage on it, and it will switch your Pokemon. And because of how the ability works, it was pretty annoying because your Aegislash got into the backline and will deal a lot of damage to your backline, and now it's more of a tank unit, which it should also be. It should be a tank, so that's pretty nice. Rotom Drone, I guess that's fine. Stantler, going from... This is basically making Stantler less tanky. It loses a bit of HP and tankiness, so it goes from 5 to 3, which would be like going from 10 to 6. And with the new special defense and defense changes, it's going from 10 to 6. So you can see it's a huge chunk. Tankiness that it loses, but it's all fine because it was way too tanky. So there are more buffs. Melmetal. The increased attack speed to attack ratio is now 10% attack speed equals 5 attack instead of 3. So it's not attack speed, it's speed. If I'm correct, it should be speed, not attack speed, because of the speed changes. And no, 10 speed equals 5 attack, so it gets 5 attack per 10 speed. That way. So this is pretty nice. Getting 5 attack per 10 speed. Makes Melmetal hit harder. Maybe this will make Melmetal more desirable for people to play. We will see. Mirashi is now instead of 180 PP, and its ability cooldown is reduced to 200 milliseconds at 50 speed. Octillery buff. Octillery has less PP, does double amount of attack as special damage than before. So Octillery hits very hard now. So maybe it's time for another Octillery challenge or something for the people. Maybe when Big Web would make another challenge. Burmy line is nerfed. The Burmy, like the different Burmy types, now have various defense stats. So, Plant Cloak, Sand Cloak, and Trash Cloak have different defense stats, depending on, as you can see, Sand Cloak has the lowest and Trash Cloak has the highest. Cryogonal was nerfed. It needs 5 PP more. That's just one auto attack, so this isn't really much of a nerf. But the next thing, the AP scanning is removed from the special defense part of the ability for the damage, and also that the explosive damage is reduced. From 40 to plus 150% special defense to 30 and 100 special defense. So it will makes it just makes Cryogonal's damage lower and makes it less crazy in ice teams. In amorphous teams it doesn't change that much, but in ice teams it is less scary. And the nerf most people are happy about, curious about, is Alolan Raichu is nerfed. It is now a tier 3 instead of a tier 4, so it means it has the same stats as Raichu. It is still a psychic Pokemon, so Alolan Raichu is still psychic, still has the plus 30%, was it? When it's in an electric or a psychic field. Or was it Fairy Field? Psychic or Fairy Field, in like one of these fields, but it is now worse. So it's still a better Raichu, but it isn't that much better as a Raichu. You can still play the Alolan Raichu reroll comp if you like to, but you have to play better now. And changes to Pokemon abilities. So, Pokemon changes. Porygon is now an Ultra Pokemon. So it has its stats adjusted, obviously, and it got a new passive, the Conversion. So it gets the highest synergy of your opponent and its effect at the start of the fight. So if you have Porygon in your team, and you play against a Fossil 6 opponent, for example, against a Fossil player, Porygon gets the Fossil ability. Gets the Fossil synergy for the fight. So it gets the revive effect of the Fossil synergy. Or if you play against Psychic, it gets the AP boost from Psychic. If you play against normal, it doesn't get anything because itself is normal. Or if you play against artificial, it doesn't get anything because it's artificial. So you get the buffs you get from the synergies. The Pokemon would get from synergies. So against grass, you don't get a tree or a berry. It just gets Porygon just gets the healing. So you just get the healing. So every synergy that gives you anything to the Pokemon, Porygon gets. So if you play against Ghost with Porygon, Porygon does not get any of the curses, also gives not any of the curses to the Pokemons, but gets like the silence on hits, or the dodge chance, but not the curses. No curses, just the stats buffs, or the on-hit buffs. And that's how every one of those works. And Fuecoco is now also reworked. Fuecoco is now a free-ranged unit, so the special and defense and special defense are obviously nerfed because of that. And the Torch Song abilities reworked. So Fuecoco now only has 60 PP, and it has an ability that it wants to spam. So put your Fuecoco next to your Sinnoh Tea, because it needs the tea. Fuecoco now will blow out Raging Flames to random opponents. Each flame deals 50% of attack, special damage with 30% luck to burn for 2 seconds above the user ability power. So it scales with itself, so the more ability power, the more often it uses its ability, the more ability power it gets, the more flames you produce. And it also benefits from its fire synergy now, and its sound synergy, because if it gets attacks, more attack, it now deals more damage with it. Also, you don't want to build too much ability power on it. It's basically more of an AD carry. So you want maybe a Mana Scarf on it. You maybe want a Red Gem or a glove or something. So you want AD items on it. AD attack speed mana items like this. But maybe not a blue egg, because you want more attacks, you want more speed, you want more attack. I think the only AP item that can be good is maybe Lucky Egg, but only if you play Ghost. So Fuecoco seems to be pretty good, or has the chance to be good. And here are all the new items. The dishes, at least. Here are all the dishes, guys. So there is the new category dishes. We already know about it. And the gourmet chefs can cook these dishes to give more stuff to everyone. So there are more than 20 dishes. And here we have curry, as you can see. And curry makes you enraged for the next 5 seconds, because we know curry is always angry. So that is reflected in its meal, in the dish as well. It's lore accurate, exactly. So here you can see all the dishes. We already talked about berry juice, so we will ignore this. We talked about this. We talked about this. We talked about curry. Like I said, it makes you enraged. Leftovers, we talked about Puffin. We will talk about later. But we will talk about all of them later on with the new Pokemons and so on. But here you have every item, every dish on one page to look at. And I just want to show how many dishes were added. Because that's not all. There are some dishes that couldn't fit on the page. Leftovers being worthless is ridiculous. It's hilarious, I mean, not ridiculous. Hilarious. Leftovers is not useless because it's basically an item for Artificial, or for Snorlax, or for Trubbish. The dishes don't take item slots, right? Exactly. Dishes don't take item slots. Dishes are placed on your unit, but do not need an item slot. So if you have 3 items, you can still get a dish. Oh, it's not an held item. Oh, it's true. It's not good for Artificial then. It's only good for Snorlax. Okay, then it's only Snorlax. I thought Trubbish could eat it. Okay, then never mind. It's only good on Snorlax then. That's selfish fatty. Okay. I mean, it's leftovers is not useful for the other items, yeah. For most other units, that's true. So, and then there are other items. The Gimme Ghoul coin, it gives you 1 extra gold per round as passive income and increase your max interest by 1. I don't know how you can get this. It's probably from one of the random city town encounters. But yeah, that's an interesting item. And the exchange ticket. exchange an item component or a crafted item for another random one. So exchange ticket is also pretty nice because you can play Amulet Coin, for example, in the early game, get an exchange ticket later on. This is an item you get in the, I definitely know you can get through the random town encounters. And so you play Amulet Coin, and then you see, oh, I get an exchange ticket, nice. And then in late game you can say, oh, I don't want Amulet Coin anymore. I will swap Amulet Coin with whatever random item I can get. Because any random item is probably better than Amulet Coin in late game, because at least it gives stats. Nerfs and buffs to items. Blue Orb now only applies the effect every 4 attacks and not 3 attacks. So it's a little bit nerfed. So this is also probably because of electric, because it's easier to get electric maybe, but also because of the item is pretty good anyways. So this item is very good. It's due to the speed change. Oh, okay. It's because of the speed change. But this item is very, very good, so yeah, it's better now. Pokerus now needs to apply its effects a little bit longer. It makes Pokerus a little bit worse, but not that much. Swift Wing gives a bit more attack speed. It's fine. A bit more speed. Comet Charge gives a bit more attack, which is pretty nice because Comet Charge scales with attack, like the passive scales with attack. So it deals a lot more damage. This is just a small nerf to Repeat Ball, so after 150 rolls you can find legendaries and not after 140. It's just a little small nerf, so yeah, that's fine. Aguav Berry is nerfed. Instead of restoring max HP, it just restores 50% of HP. Chesto gives you 50 AP instead of 15. And Citrus heals only 50. Heals instead of 50, only 30%. So there's also small changes, yeah. So, and now we are at the new Pokemons. And the first one is one of the most important ones. And one of the best ones. It's Necly. Necly is very, very good. Its signature dish is Salt. And Salt gives you Rune Protect for 8 seconds. Which is very, very good in the current meta. Because it's good against Poison, against Ghost, against everything, basically. Because it's Rune Protect, and it's easy to get. It's easy access. So that's very, very nice. Adjacent allies and its ability Salt Cure is also very, very nice, because adjacent allies gain a shield and a status affliction cured. So this means it cures ghost curses, for example, and any charm and confusion or whatever. And also water steel and ghost Pokemons burn because of this ability. So it's a pretty nice tanky, supportive unit that can help you against very CC heavy comps. And it's basically a must-have if you play against ghosts, ice, poison, and so on. Oh yeah, it doesn't cure the curse, it cures the statuses applied due to the curse. So it doesn't eliminate the curse, just the debuffs of the curses. Thank you, Curry. I think I should have been more clear with that, yeah. So it clears the debuffs, statuses, not the curse itself. So it clears the burn or confusion or whatever it gets. Yeah, I should have said that. Yeah, Neckley is very, very nice. It's basically a must-have. So you really want this one in your team if you play against heavy CC comps and with a lot of statuses. Then we go to Kapsakit. Yeah, Kapsakit has the signature dish curry. So, and carry, like it said before, it enrages the units for 5 seconds at the start of the next fight of the fight. And also, Kapsakit enrages your closest allies for 2 seconds. It can make your team like hit pretty hard because it's strengthening their attack and their speed for 2 seconds. This can be very good. And with like grass fire synergy, I can see some applications for it. I don't know how good it is. Well, I think it's a case to case. But if you put it next to a Meganium, it can be pretty good. So then we have Swirlix. Swirlix is a new rare Pokemon. It has a signature dish, Whipped Dream. So the first attack in the next fight will charm, so infatuate the opponent for 5 seconds. Or are charm and infatuation two different things? I think they are the same. So yeah, that's pretty nice. That's another way of CC at the start of the fight, like with the ice cone. That's very nice. Oh no, infatuation is yeah, it's pretty nice. So the ability enemies in a free range radius can no longer dodge attacks. So and lose special defense and have 30% chance to be infatuated. So you can shut off ghost dodge chances with this. So Swirlix basically can say, hey, you ghosts, take my damage. You can't dodge anymore. So this is very nice. Swirlix seems to be a pretty nice supportive unit. And it's pretty tanky. Then we have Gulpin. Gulpin is a new poison amorphous unit to its gourmet status, but it's a new poison amorphous one. And this is very nice. More poison amorphous units. Everybody loves it. Gulpin's signature dish is Black Sludge. So it poisons the Pokemon that eats the sludge. But if it has a poison type, it restores HP. 5% of max HP every 2 seconds instead. So instead of being poisoned, it healed. It's basically similar to Gliscor. So that's very nice. So we all will eat some pretty delicious black sludge in our poison teams. Yeah, this is very good with Gliscor, that's true. So poison amorphous units is always nice to see. And the ability, Swallow. Swallow, I mean. Store power and boosts its defense and special defense by up to 3 times. So up to 9 defense and special defense. And if below 25 HP, Swallow instead restores 20% of max HP per stack. So up to 60% max HP can be restored. And if over 3 stacks, split up, dealing 40 or 80 damage to all enemies in front. So it's basically like in the game, like in the main game, there's a thing where you can hoard and then either eat the stacks or spit them out to deal damage. And basically Gulpin does this. So Gulpin will beef up if it's if it gets damaged. Stockpile, yeah, exactly, stockpile. I think stockpile is the ability where you use it, it gets stacks, and then either you can heal yourself with the stacks and lose the stacks, or you can deal damage. This is basically it. It basically functions the same way. Your Galpin will stack up defense and special defense. If it gets below a fourth of its HP, it will heal itself up with the stacks it has. Or if it has, it gets its fourth stack, it will deal 40 damage. And will start from anew. So it will lose the defense and special defense again. Because the stats aren't there anymore. But then it gets again to stacking 1, 2, 3. And then either it heals itself during the 3 stacks. Or it's at 4, it spits out and starts at 1 again. And while spitting out, it loses its defense and special defense buffs. So Galpin is a very interesting and fun unit, I think. And I'm curious how strong it will be. Because it will be very tanky. And then deal a good amount of damage, because it the special damage isn't that high, but it deals damage to all enemies in front. So it spreads its poison pretty good. Oh no, it doesn't spread poison. It just deals damage. Oh, but it's still good. It's still good. Galpin is pretty good, I think. I don't know if it's very, very good, but it's pretty good. I like it. Especially poison Amorphous is a nice combination. And if you give it like next to Pyukumuku or like Gleisker, that's pretty nice. Now we are at Padado has the signature dish Puffin. Puffin gives 50 shields, and all health berries are added to the Puffin. Their effects are applied immediately with healed HP turned into shield. The berries are in the Puffin, and their effects are activated at the beginning of the fight. And instead of HP, you get shield, because the berries are consumed at the start of the fight, and you haven't lost any HP yet, so you need something. So you get shielding. That's very nice. So you get, for example, like 50% health. If you would get 50% health, you would get 50% of your health as a shield. So that's pretty nice. The Pokemon doesn't suffer from burn, instead it gains 20 defense when it is affected by burn. Oh, Fiddle has a nice ability, has a nice passive. So instead of it can't get burned, so you can just put a Flame Orb on it, and it gains a ton of defensive stats, like just defense, but also a lot of AD. And because it's a feared unit, that's pretty nice. And Fairy type, I don't know how good it is in Fairy, but for a feared unit, it's very, very nice. And its ability is cause adjacent enemy Pokemon to flinch and for 3 seconds, and reduce their attack. So it reduces their attack, has a good amount of defense. It seems like a bulky bruiser type. Like a supporting bruiser type. That's pretty nice. It's a good fire counter, yeah. And it also has like 55 speed, so it's a Nomicon counter, yeah. You can't play Pokenomicon against it, that's true. Well, I think this could be a good unit. Like, it's definitely a good tank against the current meta, everything. Like, if fire might be good, it's good against fire. And it's definitely good against Blue Orb Nomicon combos. So that's interesting. It could be too strong, but it's also has a pretty low special defense, so it could still be one-shotted. We have to see. It looks pretty good. It looks very, very, very good. Especially because it's a field unit. So we're coming to the new apples. So Applin is now unique, as you saw before, and it isn't the only Pokemon, because Applin can evolve into Appleton, Dipplin, and Flapple. And Hydrapple. To evolve Applin, you need to give Applin either a syrupy apple, a sweet apple, or a tart apple. And depending on which apple you give it, it evolves into Dipplin, Appleton, or Flapple. So if you give it a tart apple, it's the apple you get. It's like the first apple in the cycle. It will evolve into a Flapple. And Flapple's ability is the user deals 80 physical damage by dropping an apple from high above. Deal 160 physical damage if target defense is 0. So that's pretty nice. Pretty decent damage even. I don't. Oh yeah, you can lower the defense with its tart apple. So you can have Flapple. Pretty nice. It's also a ranged unit, has a good amount of damage. I don't know yet how good it is. We will have to see. Then the sweet apple turns into sweet apple. And the tart apple turns into sweet apple, and with the sweet apple you get and give it to Applin. It's an Appleton. So Appleton is a tanky unit as before, and it deals 50 special damage to the 3 enemy Pokemon in front, and deals 100 special damage if target's special defense is 0. So it synergizes with its apple, whereas it lowers special defense, and with the apple, and with its ability it deals more if the special defense of the opponent is low. So if Applin gets a syrupy apple, you get to have a Dipplin. And Dipplin is the weakest one of those 3, of Appleton, Flapple, and Dipplin. And it has the ability, the user sets off an explosion of sticky candy syrup which coats the highest speed enemy, dealing 50 special damage and paralysis. So it's a supportive unit. But it needs... But as you can see, they aren't the last evolutions, because Dipplin... If Dipplin gets to eat a syrupy apple, it evolves into Hydrapple. And Hydrapple is a ranged high attack damage carry with the ability each of the Hydra's foreheads has a 60% chance of inflicting 60 special damage and 2 seconds paralysis on enemies with the highest speed. So it's a very good speed counter. Yeah, Grass Gourmet is looking good. Yeah, Hydrapple is insta Grass Dragon. So yeah, does a Lucky Egg affect the dish? Yeah. It does affect the dish. Everywhere where the clover is, every clover is affected by Lucky Egg effect. So yeah, it is. And we go to the next thing. Milcery! We got Milcery! So Milcery is an interesting design. It's a new unique. It's a fairy amorphous gourmet Pokemon. It's the new unique. And Milcery gets flavor based on the synergy of adjacent allied Pokemon. That's a lot. So here are the different flavors. So it can get these different flavors based on the Pokemon it's next to it. So it can get fighting human steel allies next to it. It gets ruby flavor. If it has fire white fields, it gets ruby swirl, and so on and so forth. And all of them have unique abilities that are based on or adjacent, like very adjacent to the synergies, or benefits the synergies. So those are all of them. So ruby flavor you get from fighting human steel, and with this you can give it to Milcery and get eye creamy ruby. And I will show you later. And the ruby flavor adds 30 speed to the nearest ally. Ruby Swirl gives you get it from Fire Wild Field, and it gives 8 attack to the nearest ally. Salted Flavor, you get it from Rock, Ground, Fossil, and it heals 40 HP and adds 15 defense to the nearest ally. Vanilla is from Normal, Flying, Artificial, and it gives 60 shields to the nearest ally. Rainbow Swirl, you get it from Psychic, Amorphous, Baby, and Light. And Rainbow Swirl gives 60 ability power to the nearest ally. Mint Flavor you get from Water, Aquatic, Ice allies. It heals 40 HP and adds 15 special defense, so it's the counterpart to Assaulted. Matcha Flavor, you get it from Grass, Flora, Poison, and Ghost. It adds 40 maximum HP to the nearest ally. Lemon Flavor is Electric, Bug, Fairy Sounds. You get it from those. And it adds 40% crit chance to the nearest ally. So those are the flavors that you can get from Milcery based on your adjacent allies Pokemon's synergies. So if you have Milcery and next to it is Fossil Pokemon, you can get a Salted Flavor. If there is Grass Pokemon, you get Matcha Flavor, and so on and so forth. The signature dish of Milcery is sweets. So you get a random candy, granting a permanent stats bonus. And we will look at the candies shortly. Also, Milcery is a two-range unit. It is decently statted for evolution, and it gives the nearest ally attack damage, attack ability power. So it's a nice support unit. But now we come to all the different alchemy forms that Milcery can be, and the sweets. Based on the flavor you give your Milcery, you get one of these alchemies. So you have like a lot of different flavors you get. The flavors that I showed you before. So upon casting of the unit casts, it does this flavor. The signature dish are these sweets. So these sweets give permanent stats to your Pokemon that you give the sweets to. So that gets the sweets, rather. You don't give it some random Pokemon adjacent to Alchemy if it has a chef set, gets all the sweets. You can influence who gets the stat boosts, the permanent stat boosts, but not 100% if you have different allies around it. Also, there's a chance to just get a random sweet. So yeah, all the Alchemies have the same ability. So they all have the same ability as Alchemy has the same ability as Milcery. And they are all statted the same. So the only thing that changes is the flavor they cast, they use upon cast. So you have to think about what kind of flavor you want to give your nearest ally Pokemon. And this is the decision making you have to do. So basically, stats are the same, signature dish is the same, ability is the same, but the flavor is different. So you have a lot of versatility, a lot of decision making to do what flavor you want to have for your team and what flavor benefits you the most late game, mid game, and so on and so forth. And also what kind of team you want to play. Because you don't have to play the team you get the flavor from. You can also just put, if you want shielding to your nearest ally on the game, and have a normal Pokemon next to your Milcery, and then your Alchemy will get you get an Alchemy Vanilla, and you can give your nearest ally always a shield. Or if you want healing, you can put a grass Pokemon next to it, and then you can switch out the grass Pokemon and play dragons. Or you can do, or you think, oh shit, I have to play against a lot of physical damage. And then you can put in a rock Pokemon to get the defense, and so on and so forth. So there's a lot of decision making to make. Whereas if you play Psychic, you want this Pokemon, you want probably this one, because you get 60 ability power, and so on and so forth. So there's a lot of decision making, a lot of versatility. So there's a lot of uniqueness in this unique Pokemon that you can do and explore. And also it still gives you a lot of stats. So Alchemy seems to be a very, very fun Pokemon, and a Pokemon which really, really can be a match winner if you use it right. But also you could just get the crit chance to a Pokemon, and you play a team which doesn't use crit chance that much. That could also be all I want to say about Alchemy. Here are more new Pokemons. The new legendary Pekarant. So Pekarant is a legendary free-range carry with 25 attacks. So this is a lot of attack and 55 attack speed, which is pretty nice. It has good stats. Pekarant's signature dish is the first attack, Binding Mochi, which does that the first attack in the next fight will inflict infatuation and poison on hit. You will make a Pokemon useless and poison it, so it dies slowly while doing nothing for 4 seconds. Which is pretty crazy. Which is pretty nice. Very nice, actually. And the ability is Malignant Chain. Extends a poisonous chain to ensnare target, inflicting locked and 3 stacks of poison for 3 seconds. Pekarant is pretty good. Pekarant is very nice. It's ghost poison, so it's a ghost poison, very supportive Pokemon. It really wants to lock down your opponent's Pokemon, make them stand still, and corrupt them basically, and let them die slowly. It lets your team die slowly. Also, it gives poison access to easier to access to ghosts, and therefore more ghost amorphous units. So poison ghost amorphous is something you can play with if you have this unit. This Pokemon is looking pretty nice, but like always, you don't know if like full utility unit legendaries are always pretty scary, because you can't just put attacks like speed items on it and a mana scarf and lock down your opponent's team like permanently, like a chain. You make a chain lock basically, and that can be very toxic, pun intended. So that is very crazy. And then we have another new unique, the Galarian Farfetch'd. It's flying and fighting and gourmet, and it has large leak, so it gives 30% crit power and also critical strike. So it's also a spell crit item, so it gives you the chance to crit next ability, but a heavy hit, so which is pretty nice. And Galarian Farfetch'd ability is Leaf Blade. The user's next attack is a guaranteed critical hit, dealing 100% of attack as true damage. 100% of attack as true damage, so it deals 40 true damage by attack. So that's interesting. Farfetch'd looks interesting. I don't know how good it is, but having true damage in fighting or flying is always pretty nice, because you generally build a lot of AD in these two comps. But that's pretty nice. So next we got Veluza. So Veluza is a water psychic and gourmet Pokemon. And its signature dish is it's also unique. Water psychic gourmet unique. So more gourmet uniques, and also a new water unique. So that's interesting. And water psychic is now even more viable. So you have to look out for that. Yeah, its signature dish is permanently lose max HP to gain 3 attack and 5 ability power. So this makes your unit a glass cannon, basically. It's probably best for your backline units, because they do not care that much about max HP, and the attack and ability power gain is more efficient and better. But how good it is, we will have to see. And the ability is sacrifice 50% of current HP and gain 10 attack and 20 speed. Yeah, I mean, it's fine. It's good. And it's 10 attack and 20 speed, so this can escalate a lot. I don't know how good the HP loss in the ability is, so we have to see. But it's an interesting Pokemon. Definitely, so giving it some like attack speed, like not attack speed, some ability power items, giving it making it more, even having more attack and speed can be something fun. So even though it's pretty squishy, but this is maybe also a Pokemon that you want to put White Lens on. So we will see how good Veluza is. So next thing is Wooper. We finally got Wooper. Not the Paldean Wooper that we already had, but the normal Wooper. And it's an aquatic ground Pokemon. Our little friend Wooper gives us, I mean, it has good stats. As far as I can see, it's decent. And its ability is hurts mud at a target, dealing 25 or 50 special damage and reducing their speed. So it's just it's a decent unit. It's not like anything very, very special, but it's a decent unit. Lowering speed will be very good, I think, because of the speed changes and like a lot of abilities that give you speeds and so on. So yeah, so this is interesting. It's a nice, sweet, tanky supportive unit. So now we go to the gameplay changes. The regional variants. So regional variants are added, or unique and legendary Pokemon. So the first regional variant unique is Galarian Farfetch'd, which can be found in fighting regions. So if you are in a fighting region, you will not get a Farfetch'd in your unique picks, but a Galarian Farfetch'd. If you are, and also Galarian, Moltres, Zapdos, and Articuno are now regional variants as well. So probably Articuno in Psychic, Zapdos in Fighting, and Moltres in Dark, probably. So in these regions, they are you can get these instead of the normal form, like the, what is it called, Cantonian form. So that's interesting. That's very nice. It makes a bit for variety, and also thinking about what team you want to play and which region you should pick and so on. So it can harm you if you want to have a Zapdos normal Zapdos. You maybe should not pick the region with the possibility to get a Galarian Zapdos, and so on and so forth. So decision making is more important, and knowing the game is more important. Really nice. Regional variants are no longer found in maps with common synergies between the variant and the original Pokemon. So you will not find Zapdos, Galarian Zapdos, in a flying region, because Galarian Zapdos is electric fighting, I think. If I'm correct, it's electric fighting, so you will not find it in a flying region, because Zapdos is electric flying. Or is it electric? Yeah, it should be electric fighting, yeah. And Moltres is fire dark, and so you can't find it in a flying portal, because... and instead you find Moltres only, because... like, Galarian Moltres can't be found anymore, so yeah, that's pretty nice. So... this first one is very important. When an effect is considering the strongest Pokemon, or Pokemon with the highest stat, and if several Pokemons are equal, it now selects a random Pokemon among those. So it's no longer based on board position. So this is important for Ghost Curses. So if you have like 2 equal rated Pokemons, one of those is selected randomly. So can't position your Pokemon in a safe spot that way. Or like in a bad spot, because it's random anyways. So you just have to position your Pokemons like ever you want. And you can't do anything about it. Who gets cursed. For example, if the Pokemons are equally rated or equally prioritized. It's random. So there's no way to play around it. Unless you don't make Pokemons equal. That's the only way to play around it. Or only sure way to play around it. The farthest reachable target algorithm has been improved to favor the farthest target when there are multiple equal distant free cells. This impacts several abilities and effects such as Comet Shot and all Dasher's abilities. That is something you probably will see in-game, because that's nothing you can really say or something. You really will see it in-game, the difference, probably. For unique and legendary regional variants, does that mean the region we are currently in or the region that we will go into? It means the region you will go into, because at the moment that you pick your unique, you are already in the new region. So, PvE rewards from stage 24 onwards now propose 1 Synergy Stone maximum. The free options you get after PvE rounds can only be 1 Synergy Stone, and you get 2 items, so it can't be anymore if you're playing, like, this sometimes happens if you play, like, I don't know, normal, and then there is a water, a fire, and a thunderstone, and you can't do it with them a lot, so that happens from time to time. Now it's not possible anymore. That's pretty nice. In regular item carousels now you can only have maximum 4 Synergy Stones, so it's also not possible that there are a ton of Synergy Stones in the carousel anymore, which is also pretty nice, because sometimes you had like half the carousel full of Synergy Stones. So this is cool. This is a nice change. Weather, windy, and snow. Windy and snow now impacts speed instead of movement speed. That's because of the speed changes. So that's nothing special. And paralysis status is now 50 speed reduction instead of 40. So paralysis is a bit more potent. Does a bit more. Doesn't affect the game that much, I think, but it is possible maybe to get Jade paralyzed, but it was possible before. But it's nice to have a more counter to speed, because it's now not only movement speed but also attack speed and so on. So the UI, there is tons of UI shit added. So artificial items are now automatically dropped when benching the unit that was holding them, so that's very nice. So if you have an artificial item, you have 2 artificial units in, your one artificial unit has the item on it, like Pokerus vial, and you take the Pokemon with the Pokerus vial, put it on the bench, item is unequipped, and put your Pokemon in again, and you can just place the item. Even if 6 artificial and your artificial unit has an item, you can just put it on the bench and the item will be popped off. So this is very, very nice. This makes artificial easier to play in the late game, because you don't have to switch around. You have to bench your Pokemons all the time to get all the synergy down, to get your items back. You can just put the unit on the bench, get your items back, put the units in, put the item on a new unit. That's very nice. So you can also make just one artificial unit your placeholder for all the items and can swap them off whenever you want. That's very nice. You can now search for abilities in the wiki with the search bar. That's very nice. Yeah, that's very easy. It's a quality of life change. It's very, very nice. It's a very good quality of life change, the artificial one. These are mostly quality of life changes. Added player, add picks and regional picks info when spectating, so you can see which regional Pokemons someone can get. That's very nice. While spectating, so you can see the add picks and regional picks. That's very nice. Booster cards, like you open a booster, you can flip all of them with one button. That's pretty nice. And in the item carousel, you can now look at the item tooltips. That's also a very nice quality of life change. And everything that I didn't mention is stuff I don't care that much about, or... I mean, these are just nice changes. There are some bug fixes. Fixed wild chance not being updated immediately when buying a wild Pokemon. That's a huge change. And the other ones, I don't know what bugs were, but some of you will enjoy it. Then here are some interesting changes. Quick play in custom lobbies no longer guarantee +1 minimum elo gain when top 1. So you can't farm quick play or custom lobbies if you're first place in the ladder, which currently is I don't know who that is. Not Crabhammer anymore, but the Korean person. So they do not get +1 in quick play, so they will not spam quick play anymore because they can't get elo. This first place. So you will hardly ever encounter the first place of the ladder in your quick play or custom lobbies anymore, unless they want to just bully you. Ranked games still give you +1, so that's also important. The elo decay is now 15 days instead of 10 days, so only after 15 days instead of 10. So you can be 2 weeks on holidays instead of only 1 week. That's pretty nice. Stage 19 rewards will now be complete items instead of components if a player has an uneven number of components at that stage. So if you lose to Gyarados and therefore you would miss one component later on, you can get a complete item now instead at stage 19. So you don't have one component left over. You have the same amount of completed items as everyone else. So this is a very nice change. So this will make losing PvE rounds less bad. Like, you can afford to lose these PvE rounds more. I mean, you still lose HP, but if you lose to Gyarados with 1 HP, you don't feel that bad anymore. They removed some Scribble game, Smeargle Scribble. They added a new one. Armor reduction is now called Armor Break. That's something I mentioned earlier. And you can delete your profile, like your account, Pokemon Ocean's account, easier now. So yeah, and that's it. That's all the changes. So if you guys enjoyed it, leave a like, subscribe, and write down in the comments if there is, what is your favorite change, what do you want to cook with, and what are you the most happy about. See you in the next one. Bye bye.